You're listening to the Survivor Sweat Podcast with Mike Buckmiller and Russell Rosenblum. If you're looking for strategy articles and just about everything Survivor, head to survivorsweat.com. Now, let's get to it.
All right, welcome back to the Survivor Sweat Pod, coming to you from the Simply Vegas studio. I'm sure you've heard me say that before. Simply Vegas. What is Simply Vegas? Well, that is real estate made simple.
I thought they just sold water.
Yeah.
No, more? No.
Real estate made simple, luxury homes, luxury service. So when you win the contest, you can move out to Las Vegas, use Simply Vegas.
Even if you already live here, you can buy a new house.
Yes, that is true.
If you can win both contests and you can win them by yourself, what's that, like $18 million? No, it's more. It's $27 million.
Like 25, 26 million.
Change.
Yeah, there's a few neighborhoods in town I think you could
probably
up to.
You could probably buy something just with the change at the end, which is probably like $700,000 or something.
Just with the
like
change, yes. Well, my name is Mike Buckmiller, alongside me, as always.
Yep.
My partner in sweat, Russell Rosenblum. We were the way back when 2022 Circa Survivor champion under the Jed entry name, and I'm glad to report we're
still in, right?
Yeah,
Still
we
in.
went unscathed for the second straight
crazy.
week. It's crazy. We're just somehow avoiding some of the landmines. And so, we walk into this week feeling very good. But let's do a recap of week 4 because 1,407 hit the skids, so they don't feel too well. 33.7% of the entire pool has been eliminated through week 4, including...
I think that was like week 1 last year. We lost like 30% or something. It's crazy.
Yeah, including the 24 no picks. You go 3 weeks, and then the 4th week, you just can't. You can't get it done.
Well, I mean, we had somebody that took the Browns, right?
That was
maybe they were just tired. Maybe they were like, this is too much. Maybe they're in LA and they were driving to Vegas all the time.
At least give yourself a chance.
And they're like, you know what? I'm just going to take a flyer here. Maybe everybody loses, the Browns win. I win the whole tournament.
Just get a proxy, and you can just log in and click it in advance and not forget, and maybe even get alerted, for crying out loud.
To his credit, even with that many thousands of people still remaining, there weren't 2 people. He did manage to be on an island with the Browns. I mean, the 2 people that took Tennessee, they weren't on an island. They had to share it with somebody else. Unless it was the same guy with both entries on Tennessee. I did not bother to check, and I will not bother to check.
No, just don't do so. So there are 12,404 entries out of the original 18,718 in the winner-take-all 18 million and change. The change is 718,000. So for the second straight week, we've had some carnage.
A little bit.
As the Chargers and the Packers tie on Sunday Night Football do most of the damage.
Yep.
And how do ties fare in the contest?
Not so good.
Oh my God.
You tie, you're both gone.
Oh, you see all the Twitter feeds reaching out to Benson. How do ties work?
Not so good.
Not so good.
No.
Not so good.
We tie. Do I advance?
Yeah.
No.
Yep. In Grandissimo, we lost 3.
You must win. You must win. By the way, on that note, and I mean, this has come up before. I don't think it happened. It's come up conversationally. You must win, and that ties you lose, and that includes something where, let's say your game is scheduled for Sunday, and there's a weather issue, and I think there's a time frame. It's Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't recall exactly. I'm not going to commit myself, but if they were to roll that game to the end of the year or a full week out or something, you're out. You lose. It's not rolled.
Yes.
You're done.
You have to have a team. You have to win in advance. Same thing on the special weekends. Let's say, hypothetically, you didn't get your pick in, and everybody who had specific teams lost, you still lose. So
was there a tie the year that you guys won it?
I think it was like week 1.
Yeah. We lost 20% of our entries. I mean, week 1, the Colts, and I don't remember who they were playing.
Yeah.
Because in the 3
Colts,
years that
Texans?
I've been working,
Maybe
something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen a tie since I've been.
Well,
working
there's
for
sometimes,
Survivor
but
Sweat.
you don't often have material
True.
Survivor
I didn't
picks
think
on them.
about
You might
that.
have like 1 or 2, and you're just not paying attention.
Yeah, and I mean, in this case, only Green Bay went down because nobody had the Cowboys. And if you're fading those teams, like, you hope for the tie,
right? And
the daily double.
And this didn't happen to us, but I mean, presumably it could have, because the year we won, if I recall, well, I'm sure it was, because I remember I was in Antarctica, and that was the was it the Bengals game where they canceled the game at the end, where the guy looked like he might die,
Yes.
right?
I remember
And they
that.
take them off the field and they cancel the game. Now,
Buffalo.
there were only a
Yep,
few of us
Buffalo.
left and nobody was on that game.
Yeah.
If you are on that game, I think you're out because there's no winner.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could have done. You can't predict that ahead of time. I mean,
No.
it just is what it
No,
is.
good point. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, me too.
So in Grandissimo, we lost 3 as 2 got clipped by the New York Football Giants and 1 on the Packers, who obviously got taken out by that tie. And yes, ties lose. And what an ugly way to go. But look at Jackson Dart and the Charger and going, I explained on the Saturday Night Sweat show that I'm always a little weary of the West Coast team going to the East Coast, playing that morning game.
No question.
And then on top of it, you had some O-line issues. And, the Giants, if there's one strong part of their defense is that D-line, and they can wreck a game. And we just faded it. And fortunately enough.
And we like the Chargers in general.
Yeah.
Not this week.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of future value, and that doesn't, in some ways, as we've said, this kind of helps their future value because you'll have other people that are now a little more gun shy to take them.
Yeah, for sure.
And, things change week to week in the NFL.
So they're down to 55 in that contest, and it's kind of interesting the difference between the two contests at this stage of the game. It's not like you're at the final table. You're not at the final table yet, but your blinds continue to go up, and you're in the final room. So here you have one contest that you have 12,000 individuals that you're trying to navigate through entries, and then the other now down to 55. So I know you spoke to the analogy way back when in the WSOP when the main event was at the end. And if you were fortunate enough to make it down, how eerie that was.
It is.
With the tables just breaking.
It is. And they still do this sometimes, but not as much. They're a little nicer about it now. They often at the Rio, they would be breaking them down while you're still playing.
Yeah.
So, you're playing and you're watching these tables. Like, of course, when breakdown is a term in poker where they're moving people off tables to fill other tables. But I'm talking about literally breaking, like it's the last tournament. They're breaking down the tables and putting them away in storage while you're playing. And then you end up with fewer and fewer tables in the room. And really, even just that helps build the pressure because it's the reality of where you are. And we're not quite there yet. Obviously, it's early, but this was one of our friend of ours, the Falcon fan. Where we joke about, like, a couple times we were both, in the money in a tournament. It's like, are we close yet? He's like, dude, we're not close. There's still,
we're not close.
1,000 people left, 800 people left, 700. And then, when you're down to, like, you look around the room and there are like 6 tables. Are we close? Like, oh, yeah, we're close.
Yeah, I've been fortunate one time to make a deep run, and you look around and you find yourself like in a little ballroom, and that the final table's there, and that the winner is in that room.
That's right.
And it's kind of an eerie feeling. And so when you're in one contest for 12,000 and the other for 55, yes, we're not there in 55,
right.
But you could see the champion. You can see it on that spreadsheet. And it's just interesting that it's literally, we're trying to break down 2 contests at once.
I have a question for you guys. They asked Benson on VSiN if he thinks the Grandissimo is going to make it to Thanksgiving. Do you guys think it's going to make it?
I have
to
not
Thanksgiving?
heard his answer. I say yes. I don't know what he said. No idea.
He said yes, but probably not much past Thanksgiving.
It's hard to say. I mean, this is, again, if it depends, obviously, who you have left, which where are the upsets? Where do they come from? What weeks do they come?
Sure.
And like I said before, I think this is a reasonable chance to make it. I'm not saying it's 80%. I think it's slightly more likely than not to make it to Christmas. Whether it makes it through Christmas is another question, because I think if you end up with a lot of people, it probably makes it through Christmas. If you end up with a couple of people, given the size of it, I think there's a reasonable chance there's a deal made. And if there's a deal made, of course, you still play. Like, Circa doesn't just stop. But then you could end up in a spot where somebody really does just say, all right, I'm just going to take the dog here and try to win.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, most of the money's chopped up, and, there are all sorts of possibilities there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, we had talked to some people prior about what would be the strategy in that type of contest, because originally we didn't think there was going to be 69. The over under was around. We put it at about 28.
24,
to play a Survivor contest that only has 30, 35. Fortunate enough to get 69, and then there hasn't been too many deep cuts here, but you can tell that some individuals have been taking the chalk, and so there will come a time.
It's worked out well for him.
Yeah, it's worked out well for him. And so, yeah, I mean, we have played this as if it is going to get to the finish line.
Well, and this is the other aspect to address the other question. Again, when I said it depends who loses and when, there are some people out there that are already, and we've taken some risk here on a couple of our entries, sacrificing some of the teams they might want to otherwise take on Christmas and or Thanksgiving, right? Because they're banking on the fact it doesn't get that far. They're probably leaving themselves some outs, but their out might be an underdog. Their out might be a B game or a C game. It might not be the biggest favorite sitting on that Christmas Day game because they just don't, they don't think it's going to get there, so they'd rather use a team earlier.
Makes sense.
And so once you then, if it gets that far, that's the other reason it could then end, because you could end up with all three I'm picking a number, all three people left, and they're all stuck taking a 30% team because they've all used it. They've all used the other team. So it just really does depend on where it comes.
So when we're looking at the surprises and takeaways from week 2, was there anything that popped up that that you thought was a little off?
I don't know. I mean, everything sort of played out as one might expect other than the Giants. There's always going to be some upset someplace. And we had joked, not really joking, the week before watching the late game the prior week and the debate of when they might put Dart in. And the theory was they'd wait one more week for the softer game. I remember I said at the time, I mean, seriously, it sounded like I was joking. It really wasn't. You may as well put him in against the Chargers, even though it's a rougher spot. Yeah. I use the metaphor.
The weighted bat analogy.
Yeah. It's like when you're in the on deck circle and you're using the weighted bat, right? It's just harder to swing than when you get in the batter's box. It feels so much easier. So, send him out there against the Chargers, and then suddenly New Orleans won't feel so bad, right? Because it's going to feel bad when he goes in. You'd think no matter what the game. Like we always say, the NFL is just faster. The defenses are faster. No matter how bad your team is, they're faster than anything you've seen in college. So I think it's interesting they sent him in here, and he performed well.
Yes, he did.
We'll see what happens now that they've got tape on him and what happens next week. But he did perform well, and kudos to him.
Yeah, sure.
I think, as usual, just in terms of selections, and we discussed this on Saturday, we've been missing a little bit on the Grandissimos. We keep thinking we're going to have a little more heavily weighted towards the top of the ticket. We thought there'd probably be a few more on the Bills than there were this week. I think Derek thought more than half the field to be on the Bills in either pool. He was further off than we were, so I'll take a little bit of credit there. The Texans look like world beaters, I guess, when you play the Titans every week. You can do phenomenally well. And again, they're in a...
Not last year, though.
It's a garbage division. Yeah, thanks.
Too soon.
Thank you.
Too soon.
And that's the thing. I admit it. I was a little gun shy because we were going to take 2 Texans and Grandissimo, and we went back and forth a lot. And it's the same thing. If we had 10 picks in Grandissimo, we would never really debate putting all 10 on the Texans. Maybe you're putting 7 or 8, right? But when you have 2, you can't put 70%. It's 0, 50, or 100. That's it. 50 felt too low for me. 100 felt too high. Yeah. Like if we had 10 picks and if I wanted to put 7 and you wanted to put 9, maybe we settle on 8, but maybe we even do 9. The value of having the 1 extra pick left is really, really high.
Of course.
Whether you started with 2 or started with 10, right? So, having that 1 extra pick. And so things like that too, if we only had 1 pick, it would be on the Texans. It wouldn't be on the Bills, and it would be easy to have 100% on the Texans. Sure. Because you don't have the optionality of trying to save one. And then, of course, the question of as a football surprise, just that I'm sure the people that took the Bills weren't warm and fuzzy for 58 minutes of that game.
True.
Right? It was probably until the very, very end. And did they get the backdoor cover there too, Buffalo, in the end?
They did not.
They did not. I remember at the end.
I went 4-1, and that was my not.
That was your loss.
My
loss.
I
can't believe you're willing to lay that. I would never lay that many points in the NFL. It's brutal. But yeah, that's my loss. Hey, I went 4-1 finally this week. My loss was the Ravens. That looked like trash.
There are some games that, are the chalk, and you're still not warm and fuzzy. But going into that and not knowing the result, it was almost like that was the most for sure win. You just push the button and it's over. If Cook catches that ball, whole different game. Doesn't mean the Saints win, but they're in position.
Right.
They're leading late in the game. It's
that's
incredible.
Right. And they probably still lose, but they're probably going to be 40, 5% to win, even with a lead there, just because they're against
for
a much
sure.
better team. But it's the same logic. We want to avoid taking the Bills, and everybody has them because it's the NFL, and there is always a chance that a team
Always a
loses.
chance.
And secondly, the Bills have other good spots.
They do.
And when we take them, there's likely to be a lot fewer people on them because they've already used them.
Let's hope.
And then those other people that didn't take the Texans, I mean, they can go look down the schedule and find all those other phenomenal matchups the Texans have. They can decide when they are taking the Texans,
Yeah,
which is what people laughed at us when we didn't take Seattle.
Yeah.
Because this is the only matchup for Seattle. There's no other matchup Seattle. There's nothing there. Well, now it looks like Seattle's a little better than people think they are. And it's
Yeah.
not like they have tons of matchups, but hey, they have Tennessee in week 12. That doesn't look exactly terrible. They got Carolina in 17. I mean, they've got, and then a couple like 60% games. So they're not, they're not awful. I put it this way. I would far rather have Seattle in my bag of tricks going forward than I would Houston.
I don't think you're going to get an argument from there.
No, maybe there's someone out there on the feed that'll tell me how great the Texans are.
The one other Titans fan. All
Maybe
right,
the
so-
Titans head coach. He's pretty clueless. He might call in and say, "What do you mean? We're going to go
I'm
like
not quite sure how long he's going to be there.
we're going to win 10 games this." Actually, he'll probably call in and say they're going to win 15 games this season. I'm going to have to explain like the record and how this whole thing works with the number of games and everything.
So at 4 o'clock on Survivor Sweat X platform, we post the percentage projections of where we think the public will land, along with our selections for the week. For those of you that are riding along with us in Grandissimo, that's when we'll reveal our selections. We had the Bills between 30 and 35%. It landed on 29.9. We were happy with that. We had Texans 18 to 23%. It climbed all the way up to 26.7. So I think we
Dan
were
Sharps.
Yeah, exactly. Lions 10 to 15. They kind of sunk down to the 10.8%. And then we had Chargers, Broncos, Patriots in that tranche of teams that we thought between 8 and 12%. They ranged between 6, 13, and 7. It's hard to figure out that and pinpoint it. But the one thing that we did do is by totaling all those up, we had it between 90 and 95%, and it came in at 93.9%. And so we actually took 2 Dolphins on a backdoor cover, which I explained on Saturday Night Sweat, is just to take that one team way outside the conglomerate of where that's going to be, because you never know when that run out is going to happen. I've seen weeks happen last year where a lot of the top teams just get whacked all at once, and you end up going out with the whole pool.
It was the week of the year we won. I know everyone seems to think we're being nostalgic like Al Bundy, but it's just because it's easy to remember. It was
Sure.
late in the year, and we went in, and there were 14 teams, if I remember right, and they were on probably 14 entrants left. They were probably on 5 different games, and three of the 4 lost. We were the 5th. We were playing at night or the next night. The only one that won was like a field goal at the end, but like 3 straight huge favorites, lost, and you went from 14 to 4. Now, that sounds like you're only losing 10 entries. You're losing like, 2/3,
the run out
3/4
on
of the
that,
field.
it's just one team after the next, and you're like, is this really happening right here? And
And it was Christmas. I remember that because the guy couldn't hedge. It was somebody, the one guy that did advance, and then the 3 other people all had the same game that night. And so from his perspective, he could have, if he had the money at Circa, he could have made a big bet as a hedge, because if we all lose, he wins the whole pool. If we win, there are 4 of us left.
and for the record, don't hedge now.
Yeah,
no.
no.
We'll get to that. And,
Yeah, for sure.
we'll discuss later on in the contest about being prepared to win this contest and how to do so.
Correct.
So our Circa main entries were the majority on the Texans, Patriots, and we had some on the Broncos, and then in Grandissimo, the Texans and the Broncos. And again, we went back and forth over and over about taking 2 Texans. We liked the idea of having multiple teams to survive. We also were thoughtful of the fact that we may need the Broncos down the road.
Yeah, we've now burned them on both of our Grandissimo.
Yeah, and so we're now not Bronco fans in regards to that. So it's just the choice you make, and
it's funny because the obvious reality hit us. We're sitting there going, well, okay, look, we think the Texans are going to win. The chances they lose are very, very low. But again, any given Sunday, any team in the NFL. And we want to at least, if the Texans suddenly do shit the bed, which they did for us last year in the exact same matchup, we at least want to have 1 entry left. Okay, well, then the Texans advance like it's cake. And then I say to you, one permutation we never ran. You go, what? I go, what if Denver loses? That's the insult to injury, because it felt like we're pushing the button, and like that wasn't really the thing we thought about.
Well,
and then as Mike
we
said
really
to me,
liked that game too.
Of course we did, but as Mike said, as we headed into Monday night, he goes, this is just like last week where everything went perfectly well, but if Kansas City lost last week, the whole week was a waste.
Bullshit.
Like, we lose ground, we don't make up any ground at all.
Yeah.
And it was the same with Denver this week. If Miami lost, it's annoying, but it's fine. We still make up ground.
In past years, we would get the sweat. I mean, it would just be agonizing.
I'll take the no sweat. It's okay.
And it was like the game was. I mean,
there was a sweat for like 6 minutes or something.
Yeah, you rarely
kicked off, and we're good.
You rarely have those games. So when you get them, you just take them.
Look, Miami gave me a small sweat early. I mean, at least from my perspective, when
Yeah.
they're up 3-0 and the Jets just drive down the field like there's literally no defense. Like they're just 6 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry, and then they fumble on the one. And
But
I'm
you
thinking,
have to remember,
they're
they
the
are the
Jets.
Jets.
But when they fumble on the one, although of course I'm thrilled, right, because they didn't score, and but I'm still thinking, oh my God, they're gonna just move the ball down the field all game. Like,
Yeah, it felt that way for sure.
and then Tyreek leaves.
Oh yeah,
So you glad you wish we saved Miami for a different day?
man.
I wish we had 20 on Miami instead of 2 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I just hate that.
Oh, it's awful.
Well, enough about us. Nick, where
yep.
did last year's champions land?
Yep. So these are, just to preface it, these are the 2024-2025.
Yeah, I'm
Circa
gonna. So somebody
champions.
reached out to us once and asked
Yeah.
why we didn't include other champions. I guess we can try if somebody has specific interest in us listing them. But the reality is, if we started going back to every champion in this thing all the time,
Yeah.
it's just a lot. I mean,
podcast would
especially
be 4 hours
in the
long.
first year, there were 35 or something like that. So I mean, it would be a lot. So it's really meant as no disrespect to other prior champions.
No, not at
We're just trying to track the most recent ones.
Yeah.
I will say, if somebody wins 2 of these things, then we'll probably track that person for a long time, even if it's not last year.
Yeah, I think they'd be pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, just to preface this, these are just the screen names that won last year. So the people who, own these screen names, they could have 50, 60 picks.
Absolutely.
But this is what we know about. So
Or maybe they sold their screen name on Survivor Sweat. It's not them anymore. We should do that.
That's
You
a
could
good
sell your handle.
conspiracy.
You're not selling your picks, just your handle.
C3 Picks has 8 alive. Got through with 4 Broncos, 3 Patriots, 1 Lions. Dream Stakes has 7 picks alive. Got through with 4 Texans, 2 Broncos, 1 Bills. Meatball Brothers, 7 picks alive. 3 Bills, 3 Texans, 1
By the way,
Broncos.
did any of those people lose any this week, or that is every pick they had? So they didn't.
No.
Right. Because you said 7 alive, but they came in with 7 as well
Yeah.
and left with 7.
Yeah.
You got it. I just read Meatball Brothers, so we got Pumbaa Pack, 4 injuries alive, 3 Bills, 1 Patriots. Vodka Johnny, 6 injuries alive, 3 Bills, 2 Broncos, 1 Texans. Whatever y'all want, 5 picks alive, 3 Texans, 1 Broncos, 1 Patriots. And then this is impressive. Whiskey Business, 10 picks alive. Got through with 6 on the Texans, 3 on the Patriots, 1 on the Lions.
So, I love Whiskey Business's spread there of the 6-3-1. He liked the Texans, but he wants to make sure he's still got some, value going forward if they fail out here. And look, I don't love burning that many Bills here like Pumbaa Pack did, but the reality is, if he really wants to take the Bills, I think he does the right thing by taking 1 Patriots. There's always a chance the team loses. And you've got, I'd prefer in a spot where maybe you have 3 if you love the Patriots, 3 Patriots, 1 Bills, but I get it. I wouldn't. And I'm not sure he doesn't lay it all on the Bills because he wants to have 1 entry with the Bills remaining, as much as they can lose. Yeah. Everybody can lose in the NFL.
Yeah, for sure. And back to tracking last year's champions, there are some new listeners, new to Survivor, and who better to learn from people that made it to the finish line. So it's always good to kind of see where they sprinkle the board, if they lay the wood all 10, or if they spread them out. And so it's just, I like to get into the minds and the game theory of other entries. And it's, and to your point, Pumbaa Pack, they only have 4 left. So, they went heavy on the Bills and 1 on the Patriots, to your point. And so you could see as they get shorter on entries, you can see them moving a little bit more. It's real of thinking, I may be out of this contest.
Right.
And when we won in 2022, the next year, when our entries just started getting chopped, because you think you're just going to make it again.
Right.
And I think we were out week 8, week 9.
It was
and we were crippled like week 3. It was just every week.
We were crippled.
If we had the number 2, or if we had the number 3, if we had the third biggest favorite, the first and second favorite always won, the third always lost. We kept losing, and everybody in front of us kept winning. We made up no ground, and we just kept diminishing picks every week.
And I remember we started this pod, and the reality was, like, are we actually going to do this pod? We're not even going to be in this contest anymore. And it is like a gut punch to be out after having such a surreal run and then just being out of the contest.
And don't forget, same year, we bought back in later.
Yes.
Not the week we got knocked out later. We bought back in on Survivor Sweat with a bunch of our normal partners, but not a cheap entry. And we were, from the time we signed and closed, if you figure a game itself takes about 3 hours and 10 minutes, we were in for about 5 hours, including that 3 hours and 10 minutes. We closed about 2 hours before kickoff, and we busted.
So not only did we get the gut punch,
it was a Thursday night game,
but then we got the kick in the nuts to follow. Yeah. And I remember early on in that is like, it would be great that if you busted out in this contest organically, we're just talking, we're like, how great would it be to like buy back in,
right?
Like a rebuy. And it just picked up steam from there. And so it's just, it's a reality. I mean, you want to get there on your ticket. Don't get me wrong, but it is a possibility.
And by the way, talk about no sure things. I'm going to rub salt in my own wound. So we get back from the Raiders game on Sunday, and we go to a friend's house to watch the late game. And a friend of mine opened a new sports book in town. Sorry, Circa. I'm going to give him a plug also. Joe Asher opened up Boomers. And he's like, you haven't placed a bet yet. What's going on? I'm like, all right, let me look for something. So I've had a few too many tequilas. I did not drive back from the Raiders game. Someone else did. And I looked down, and, the score is 13-2. Okay? So the 2 is, a blocked kick returned. It's not even like a true safety. It's a blocked, extra point returned for 2.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's not like there's any offense going on here, right? And it's 13-2, and Dallas has the 2 and has their ball on their 2. Okay. And I look down, and there's a bet for a race to 15.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's maybe 6 minutes left in the half or something like that.
I think you said, is this a bankroll bet? And
I said, because Mike has this phrase to me, bankroll bet. When I go, what do you think? He goes, just whatever we have in the account, just put it on the bet. Like it's like, it doesn't matter what the price is. It does, you can't, it's almost impossible. They're on their 2. You're probably going to win this bet in the next 2 minutes when they punt because they have no offense, and then we just need a field goal.
There was some punting going on.
And we're done. And they said, by the way, I laid 14-1.
That's right.
Okay, which I never like laying big prices because it can always go wrong.
That's right.
So I'm laying 14-1, and for those of you that I'm sure everybody that watches this watches football and sees Dallas drives all the way down the field, and everyone's like, yeah, but you're still fine. First, they might only get a field goal. They still have to get to 15. And as Mike said, it would have cost me a lot more money? I go, what's that? He goes, if there was a bet that Dallas gets to 15 before the end of the first half. It's like impossible. They have 2 points. They're on their 2-yard line. Like, it's impossible. And I'm like, this is just... And don't worry, when Dallas started moving down the field, I was able to get more at minus 600 and then more at minus 200 after they scored. All those lost. I blame
So Joe
tequila.
called and thanked you for opening up your Boomers account, right?
No, he called and said, why haven't you made a bet? Since I made the bets, I haven't heard from him. So we'll see. I think he's probably thinking, oh, God, he's going to be mad.
Yeah, all right, well, let's wrap that up.
I'd like to wrap that up. I don't want any more about that.
That's a wrap for week 4. And after the break, we'll come back and try to figure out where we're going to land in week 5.
All right.
Couldn't have imagined that it would happen. To be here today and collect this check.
This is amazing.
Do you have what it takes to win the biggest football handicapping contest in Las Vegas? If you live out of state but want to enter either the Circa Sports Millions or the Circa Survivor contest, you've come to the right place.
But do you not live in Las Vegas? There's a solution with Survivor Sweat. Place from anywhere in any of the biggest sports contests. Fly to Las Vegas and schedule an appointment to get signed up. Can't make it to Vegas? Just buy an entry form from the marketplace. Either way, submit your picks each week into the contest using Survivor Sweat Proxy.
Kudos to Circa, Survivor Sweat, and everybody else.
Once in a lifetime experience. Thank you.
With over $20 million in guaranteed prizes, you can sweat small, win big. Visit survivorsweat.com or call for more information.
All right, so I'm going to go off topic for a minute. So a friend of ours made it really, really deep into the, he's still in, of course, but into the millions.
Circa Millions.
Yep, with the 5 picks. And he is not a real big fan of Geno Smith at the moment because apparently if Geno plays just, a teeny bit better, or apparently the left tackle, if they don't get the kick blocked at the end. I think he splits it with one, maybe two people for the quarter. Maybe I think he said like 80,000 or something. Instead, he finishes 10th, going 4-1 this week, and gets like $800, which he doesn't even want to go pick up.
Which I said, at least he gets to go to the check ceremony.
Does he get a jacket? Does he get a jacket for the $800? He'll get the $800. They'll charge him $1,200 for the jacket. He'll have to show up with $400. So anyway, he's running pretty bad. So he literally while we're filming, he doesn't know we're filming right now, and he said to both Mike and I, do you guys know anyone who would want a 5-month-old purebred Aussie Shepherd? Cleaning lady needs to give it up. So maybe he needs to give up the cleaning lady since he only has $800 left.
That's right.
If anybody out there is looking for a purebred Aussie Shepherd, ping us on Survivor Sweat.
Yeah. As I mentioned to Russ, we could sell it on Survivor Sweat. I mean,
that's the whole Survivor
That's going to
part.
be my Twitter DMs here in a second.
Exactly. You're going to be exploding. We'll start auctioning off the dog.
Here's all these entries in an Aussie Shepherd.
We'll have to get the picture of the Shepherd up on Survivor Sweat. People need to know what they're getting.
Well, maybe we should figure out where the Shepherd wants to land on week 5.
There we go.
So here we go.
And now we'll know if he watches the pod when he reaches out and goes, thank you, or just is clueless. Yeah,
true.
The top team on the board in terms of win percentage is popping up again. The Detroit Lions there.
Shocking that the top teams always show up at the top of the board.
The Cincinnati, I'm gonna go ahead and call them the Bungalows again. So the Bungalows are there. So another team to hunt. They looked absolutely lifeless.
Yep.
So, but we do know that Detroit does play on a special week, and we also know that it might be a team that has a lot of future value that you want to save.
The Bengals? No.
Then below them, you got the Circle the Wagons, the old Buffalo Bills, which I know they've been heavily taken the last 2 weeks on their Sunday Night Football there against the Pats in a division game. They are 78% market win rate. They also have future value. And then below them, you got the nice, tidy little Arizona Cardinals versus the Tennessee Titans. And they are at 79% to win. And they don't have a lot of future value, to be honest.
Shocking.
Yeah, so I mean that might be a spot if you held them up to this point, maybe a good spot to burn.
Do you happen to see offhand? I don't remember how many have the actual cards left.
Yes, 46.7% actually have.
It's actually slightly more than I would have thought.
The cards, and back to the Bills, 42.6% actually have the Bills in their pocket. Now, when you're looking at the Lions, 82.5%. And on down the list, as I was going to mention, the Indianapolis Colts hosting those Geno Smith Raiders. And a lot of people have the Colts, 94.4%. And the Colts are sitting there at 73% win rate. Seems higher than that, but I mean, that's the market. And they also
It's only because you saw the Raiders game live.
Just unreal. Just unreal stuff. And the Bears fans just march out of there like they won the Super Bowl.
Oh, dude, the players were celebrating like they won the Super Bowl on the field.
You got 2 bad teams here. Like, what did you win? The Eagles come in and the Eagles win. If the Eagles won a game like that, their fans are marching out going, I cannot believe we played this bad. This is just embarrassing.
Dude, their coach is going to be dragging them through the extra film training in the locker room.
Bears fans taking pictures, family photos. They were just having an absolute party.
Which, by the way, we love in Vegas because we're a tourist town. If they were still playing in the Coliseum, I don't think it'd be a good idea.
No
way.
Not much of a black hole any longer. So you got
it's a black hole. Yeah,
it's for the season ticket holders. So you got,
or the owner.
There you go. Detroit, Buffalo, Arizona, and Indianapolis are your consensus top 4. Below them, you got another 70% win rate team, the Rams. Will we have enough information about Purdy and the gang over there in 49ers to push that button on a Thursday? Because that tips off tomorrow. So if you're going to play that game, you got to get it in before kickoff and give yourself some grace period. But yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. Both wide receivers. They got a defensive back and, of course, Purdy. And Mac Jones was actually nicked up the week before. It looks like he's trending that he could play if Purdy's out. In that division game, and so tough week.
Is Bosa still hurt? I don't even know.
Bosa's out for the season with the ACL, so he's
it was ACL.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah,
and so that's a tough spot. And the big question will be: will you have conviction? Will you have enough information? and be able to make that selection.
And you didn't mention the new, what's it, 2 years now? I don't think it's 3 that the NFL's done this like quasi-European home team thing where one team stays there for 2 weeks, gets to host 2 games.
That's right.
And so, I don't know. I mean, Minnesota gets to play a pretty, putrid Cleveland team who's shown signs of life.
Which
Obviously
looks
won a
like
game.
they're going to make a quarterback change, and it's not Shedeur Sanders. They're going to go to the Oregon kid. So Flacco's going to hit the bench this week, and they're going to go with the rookie.
So when you said they're going to make a quarterback change, I was going to say, which team? Because, I mean, right? It's not unfair.
No, of course. Yeah. So
I actually think Minnesota, I said to you beginning of the year, I think they're an overrated team. Even as rated as upper mediocre, I think they're an overrated team. They're probably better with JJ not playing. Nothing against JJ. Long-term, he's their future. But again, getting a more established vet out there. Obviously, they didn't look particularly good last week, which I didn't think they would. I meant to take them in millions and somehow forgot to. But not take Minnesota, take the others, go against Minnesota. Cleveland's not very good. I actually think that, I hate to say this, I don't know where we're going to end up, and it's going to be hard for me to try to sell taking Minnesota. But the reality is, them having been in Europe for the extra week, Cleveland not being particularly good anyway, and they got a good defense, but them having to roll in there with Minnesota more rested in the sense of, that's almost the equivalent of a bye week. The only thing better is if Minnesota was playing a team from the West Coast.
Yeah.
That would be even better. But
it's interesting because Jacksonville, that was always their spot.
Correct.
Where they went over there for 2 weeks, and it was almost an auto bet, like a principal bet.
And Jacksonville, they've had a couple of credible years, and they're looking decent this year, but historically they've been awful. Like Minnesota now is better than those terrible years of Jacksonville when they would always be in Europe. So when I look at that Minnesota game, that could be one of those weird outlier games that I don't know, that I might be willing to look at. Kind of like Miami last week where we take a couple of picks on this team.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go bankroll the Vikings, but
so
it's a good spot for them.
Yeah, just above Minnesota, you got Seattle, Philadelphia, Kansas City, Philly, Kansas City on those special weeks. Philly, Denver's probably not a game you want to cozy up to. And Kansas City goes to Jacksonville. Kansas City looks a little bit better now. Part of the receiving corps got back. And
it looks a little better.
Yeah.
I mean, the Ravens were supposed to be the best team in football. What's their record?
Okay.
What's the Ravens? What are they, 1-3?
Not only are they 1-3 now, Lamar Jackson's out. He could be out now for 2 to 3 weeks.
And here's the example, the opposite of what we've done and where we are, right? So, and we know this going in, like we haven't used the Ravens, I don't think anywhere. I know we have it in Grandissimo. No. If we've used them, it's like 2 throwaway picks someplace. I don't know if we used them anywhere. And so now we're sitting this, well, clearly, because they're only 1-3. But now we're sitting there with the Ravens, and now if we were planning on using them in the next 4 weeks, we're not. And you're hoping Lamar does come back because I don't think you want to take the Ravens without Lamar. Like, I haven't looked at their exact schedule they're playing.
You may find yourself on an island.
You may. I mean, but you the problem is if they were to roll against the team like Tennessee, you won't find yourself on an island. That's the only time you'll want to take them without Lamar against a really bad team. So I guess the next team they're big favorite against, if he's playing, is Chicago in week 8 if he's back. And now it's fine. You just got to hold them all longer. If you were planning on taking him, you just don't know. Like if Lamar doesn't come back, you've held a team. And as Baker pointed out on that Saturday, when we're talking about Seattle, assuming this is going to get to the end, which is a pretty safe guess, there's only 12 teams you're not taking. The Ravens were never on that list of 12 teams you're not taking. The Bills are never on that list of 12 teams you're not taking.
You're going to burn them or
the Chiefs,
save them.
right? Like all these teams, and they lose one quarterback, and now you may never take them. And
who's even sitting for Lamar Jackson? Who's their second string?
So it's Cooper Rush is going to come in and play, and so he came in. And, it's interesting because you look at some of the backups and they kind of have the same same prototype as their offense. But
right. It's a strange
and in the
backup
past,
for them
it was like Hundley was the backup there. And they didn't change the offense too much. Obviously, Hundley is nowhere near Lamar Jackson, but here's Cooper Rush. And so his skill set is completely different. And so it'll be interesting to see how they look. And versus a Texans team that, got off the schneid and, now they got to go to Baltimore, and Baltimore hasn't done anything defensively. They got a lot of injuries. They lost another corner. Their defensive tackle situation's a mess. And now they're having trouble running football, and now Lamar Jackson's out. So interesting spot. I don't think I'd want to, be warm and fuzzy with the Texans, but I just think it's a game you're not looking at.
No, I don't think you're looking at it either. But I do think that they should be able to handle this game. But no, I don't think this is a spot you're looking for. But I'd imagine the offense gets more conservative. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah.
The offense will get more conservative, and they'll probably just try to run the ball down their throats a lot.
Speaking of looking at, I went over to Survivor Sweat prior to the popping on the pod, and I started counting, and then I stopped counting. There are over 100 entries for sale over there on the marketplace, ranging from 1% to 99%. There's several that are relinquish.
Let's hope that 99% is relinquishing pick control.
Yeah, pick control. One thing I didn't see is Grandissimo entry. I did not see one of those. But the current implied value of each ticket now, or each entry, is $1,509. Grandissimo, $125,000 for $454. But man, I just started counting and I went, holy mackerel! And I'm telling you, on the Saturday Night Sweat, James said it was a record sales last week.
Amazing.
Just off the charts.
And we still haven't had any major carnage. Usually it comes after major carnage.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to buy a piece of another entry, give yourself more chances to get through, or you want to put yours up there, it looks like there's a lot of interest, I'll tell you that. So, Nick, there was a question regarding that.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, Manny, thank you for the question. Manny says it's crazy how much people are paying for equity in the marketplace. Is there a reason why people are paying at a minimum of 3x over implied odds? I feel like I should join next year just to sell shares.
You should.
You could. I'm going to say this about the marketplace, just because there's a lot of new people listening in this year. And a lot last year I was answering emails and X DMs on my end. The structure of the marketplace is like eBay. So on eBay, realistically, I could go sell this hat for $3,000. It would be dumb
You
for
say
me
realistically.
to do so.
You can list it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it would be dumb for you to do so?
It would be really dumb for me to do so.
To sell the hat for
everybody would
$3,000?
Tell me I'm dumb. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
I thought you meant it'd be dumb to sell it for $3,000. I'm like, there must be something more about that hat I don't know.
Well,
It could be the smartest sale you've ever made. Nothing wrong
it
with the
could be
hat.
awesome. I would be telling stories about it, but imagine what my email from eBay would look like.
Yeah,
is my
there's
point.
that.
So just keep that in mind. But Russ,
Yeah, and so people ask this every year, and we've talked about this, and I always give sort of it's a pulled out of the air estimate. It's not, there's no real science to it, but typically when the dollars are smaller, people pay over face, and when the dollars get bigger, they typically pay under face. So when you end up with an entry that is, and I use the 6-figure number, again, there's nothing specific about $100,000, but usually when the entries are worth $100,000, people are buyers, they look for a small discount because there's a smaller universe of those buyers. And when they're cheaper, they're selling at a premium because from the perspective of the seller, they don't really care that much, right? Like what's he going to, he's already in for $1,000. He's going to make $20. Like it's not motivating to sell. So like you said, it's like eBay. It's what the market will bear. The buyer doesn't have to buy, the seller doesn't have to sell. But there's one added thing here that I was thinking about that I don't think I've mentioned in the past, and it's kind of obvious. When the pick is $100,000, you may want the pick, but you're not likely to pay $300,000. You're not going to pay $200,000 more just for the fun aspect, right? But at the end of the day, when the pick's worth $1,000 and you're buying 1%, and it was $1,000, and you believe maybe this guy has used fewer really good teams, so maybe in your mind, even though on the par is $1,000, maybe you think it's worth $2,000, and maybe you're paying, it's not even that. You're buying 1%, right? So I'm using an extreme example, right? So I don't know how many of those are selling, but it's $10. You think it's really worth $20, so you're paying $30. So I mean, who cares? Like you're spending the extra $10 because it'll be fun, and maybe you're going to follow it more, and like it's not worth thinking about. And you multiply that out by 5, so you're buying 5%. It's the dollars aren't that big. The amount of time you're going to spend agonizing over it is probably worth more to you than spending an extra $20. There are also a number of people that look to buy 1, 2, 3% of lots of different entries and just kind of see what's going to happen. And the spread you're doing, it's anybody out there that's done any stock trading. And a lot of places will encourage you to do what's called paper trading first, where you're trading and it's not real money. And that's helpful if you don't know what you're doing. But at the end of the day, nothing is as helpful as when you have some of your own money on this thing. Yeah. Like anybody that's learned to play poker, if you learn with no money, the game is just ridiculous. Everyone's all into the river every time. Nobody cares, right? So usually you try to learn with a small amount of money. And so here, it's a very cheap education. You're spending an extra $20, $50, $100 to keep yourself interested.
Sure.
And if you were to talk about preseason, the reason could be because it's much cheaper to do that than to fly to Vegas to buy an entry.
Yeah.
Right? Like the extra spread you're getting to fly here is very different. And that could be the same here. Maybe people were hoping to buy in later and they just hasn't had as much carnage.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying a little premium. Yeah, 3x, 4x. You're not getting the value, if you will, but you're getting in, and everybody's finances are different, but the dollars are going to be a lot cheaper now,
Right.
as opposed to getting it at face value at $100,000.
Right. You can get it at face value. And maybe when face value is $100,000, you get in at 90.
Maybe the face value is
But-
at $30,000.
Right.
And maybe you're okay with that, and that's your sweet spot. Maybe it's $10,000. Don't know.
No, but this is the thing. Like, let's say you're buying the whole entry just for easy math. The face value is 100,000. You can get in for 90. Or the face value is, I know it's not up to 2,000. 2,000, you can get in for 4. So obviously, it's a better deal to pay 90 for the one worth 100. I'm not disputing that. All else being equal on the picks. The question is how many of the buyers actually have $90,000 and how many have 4, right? And that's part of what moves and dictates this market share. As this contest grows more and more, and I've said this year to year too, I always think at the beginning of the contest that we'll sell at premiums for people that couldn't get here, they're learning and they want to get in. I do think later in the contest, as this contest matures, there will be bigger money that comes in and it will compress that spread. It'll get smaller and smaller because you'll get funds. You literally might get funds. You'll get the Billy Walters of the world that don't want to bother buying a $1,000 lottery ticket. It's a pain in the ass. Why don't I wait till they're worth $200,000 and pay $120?
Yeah.
And buy as many of them as I can, right?
Sure.
That's really where someone like that has a much bigger edge than spending $1,000 on one of these things that, look, even if you think I don't know what the edge is in this, and we talk about this year to year too. Like, best poker player in the world enters the main event of the World Series of Poker. Say it's Phil Ivey. Just to pick a name, no offense to everybody else out there. It's $10,000 to enter. What's his EV? Some people say 2x, 4x, 6x. I don't know. Is it $60,000? I don't think anybody's saying it's higher than that. That's a pretty high estimate, right? So if you say the EV is 6x, even from his perspective, he plays big, $60,000. He's now committing, 17 days of playing.
Yeah.
Right? Even from his perspective, if he could do it, which you can't, he probably would prefer to only have a 2x edge and buy him when it's $500,000.
Yeah.
Right? And know that he's got a $500,000 edge rather than the 60.
Great rundown and great analogy of what we're doing here, what they're doing over there at Survivor Sweat. Yeah.
Yeah, real quick. One last thing about the marketplace. This is the most common Survivor Sweat question to date, is when that premium tipping of the scales drops off. On Saturday Night Sweat, I believe James has said this 2 or 3 times. We always see that tipping of the scales just around Thanksgiving. So once again, keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with the carnage. I mean, it could tip.
Correct. That's all it
tip
is.
in
It's
2
dollars.
weeks.
It's dollars. I mean, at the end of the day, someone could have 10 entries, but it's easier for the example to say someone has 1. They got $1,000 invested in this thing. If they can walk away with 50 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand, they're going to sell. I'm not saying they all will. They're more likely to sell at a discount. They have $1,000 in this thing and they can walk away for $1,050.
No.
Like, who cares?
Yeah,
like,
no,
it's
exactly.
whatever it took for them to get that 1 entry. Like, even, by the way, if they only have 1 entry, they probably had to pay to park at Circa. There's $40, right?
Here he goes.
Jeez.
They may have paid $100 for the proxy.
Have
now
we got
they're
a
in for
free
$11.40.
parking yet?
I don't know, man. Jeffrey out there, where's my parking space?
Jeez Louise. All right, so Nick, tell us about Saturday Night Sweat, because this has turned out to be...
It's a blast.
It's a blast.
It's
Quite
really
a show. I've been on it all but 1 week, and man, I just can't wait to be on there. I love listening to other guests, but tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we're going to open up the show with myself, ODB, Farmer, and you, Mike. We'll do the cold open, and then Russ, I'm thinking that you're going to be the first guest, and then we'll follow up with Mrs. Rachel Arie again.
Is she going to be in Hawaii
He
again?
lost his entry. You sure they're still married?
Well, yeah, what I said on the last live stream I thought was kind of funny, but and then for sure this week our guest is going to be Paulie Howard from Follow the Money.
He's great.
You guys should watch that show on VSiN. It's very good. I'm a big fan. And then James is going to do a marketplace rundown. And then we are hoping to get at least one more guest on there to help us kind of wrap up the live stream. Whoever that might be, I will update you guys on.
You know what I mean?
X
Like
account.
whoever everybody is, tweet out to us and we're going to put you on. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not
going
going
to say whatever.
I'm not going to do it on the timeline.
Yeah.
No, like a random person out there.
Last week we had the Blez on, Jared Bleznick,
Blez is
who's
cool.
He's great. Talk about game theory, math.
Even though he thinks your pick, thinks you're a moron.
Yeah.
He thinks we're morons. Excuse me.
He didn't like our Texans pick. That said, even he didn't think there was going to be 17 on it. So, whatever. I love to hear the
always learning.
I love to hear other people's game theory and math, and how they go about finding their landing spots. And like I said, I've said this many times, there are a gazillion ways to play this contest, and it takes 5 minutes to learn and a lifetime to master.
And as a friend of ours who's in our group said to me a couple years ago, he goes, I think this is going to be solvable soon with AI and ChatGPT. And I go, the reason it's not solvable is because depending on what other people do totally changes what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like in poker, there is a game theory optimal. I don't really think there's a game theory optimal here, because you could end up with 100% of the people on some team or 0% on that team.
Yeah.
And that totally changes where you should be.
Sure. And then they have to play the games. Well, hopefully you'll check that out Saturday night, 6:45, and you'll. Where do you see us, Nick?
Yeah, so if you're subscribed on YouTube, your phone will buzz that we are live streaming. And on X, obviously, it'll hit your Twitter timeline just as, X timeline as a tweet itself. And then if you can't find it for some reason, go on our X page, click our profile picture. There'll be like a pinkish, reddish banner around it. That's how you know we're live streaming. So.
Perfect. And I just got another text. I think I just picked up another subscriber, maybe, because I just have my sister that's texting me now that goes,
nice.
She wants
stop
the dog.
it. You have a sports betting podcast?
Yeah.
So there's someone that should have been watching.
I
that
thought
hasn't
she was
been. Maybe
interested
she
in the
will
shepherd.
Now. Well, yeah, maybe. We're not live. Maybe if it was Saturday and we had the shepherd.
That's true. All right, well, that's the wrap. If you want to reach out to us during the week, want to talk anything Survivor Sweat contest, Survivor contest, Circa Survivor, hit us up on X at mbuckmiller.
Hey, we're getting like the strobing effect. It's not your computer, it's ours.
At Rosenblum R, or of course at Survivor Sweat. Don't forget to give us a like, subscribe to the pod, and of course over at survivorsweat.com, and get your pick in.
Yeah.
Or don't. Again, what do I care?
Well, don't get your Grandissimo in.
Don't get your Grandissimo. We still have no picks in the Grandissimo. That's very disappointing.
Yeah. All right. Until next time, we'll see you Saturday night.
And don't forget, if you need a dog, Survivor Sweat's the place to go.
That's right.
Yeah, I'll put it in the marketplace.
Exactly.
Wonderful. All right. See you next week.
Later.
Looking for Survivor strategy articles? Did you lose your last entry on a Survivor contest and wish you could rebuy? Check out our marketplace and you may find what you need. Head over to survivorsweat.com for all things Survivor. And we'll see you next week for the next Survivor Sweat podcast.